Svein Holsether is the CEO of the fertilizer company Yara International. He joins us live now from Oslo. Svein, thank you so much for being with us. As I was just saying to our reporter, Anna Stewart there, Russia's argument for wanting to end this deal is that they believe, or they've said that they believe, that this deal is inherently unfair because it limits Russia's ability to export their own food stuff and export their own fertilizer. Regardless of whether or not one believes that, I mean, obviously the US is saying that Russia is simply using this grain deal as a weapon. Regardless of what you believe, just explain to us how, just walk us through what changes in terms of Russia's ability to export fertilizer from this point forward. What happens now?
Well, Zain, what we've seen now is it's just another brutal reminder of how fragile the food system is, and it adds additional burdens to the Ukrainian people, to the Ukrainian farmers that have already lost a significant arable land to produce food. They've been out there in the fields, some of them filled with mines to produce food, and now on top of it, they have the uncertainty whether they're going to be able to sell the food that they produce. When it comes to food exports and fertilizer exports out of Russia, I can't say too much about the food part of this because it's very difficult to interpret all the data. But in our industry, in the fertilizer part of this, for urea, which is the main nutrient going into fertilizer, the exports out of Russia increased by 12% in 2022 compared to 2021. So fertilizer is finding its way out into the markets. Fertilizer prices have come down to pre-war levels. And we see the announcement today. And again, it just tells us that we need to create a much more resilient food system, less dependent on Russia.
I mean, is there anything that we could have done to plan for this? I mean, we know that Russia is not a reliable partner when it comes to this grain deal. Of course, you know, there was a lot of speculation leading up to this moment that they would pull out. They've done it before. What could have been done to mitigate the impacts of this in advance, do you think?
Well, when it comes to the global food system, a lot should have been done much earlier. And what we see now in terms of food security because of the war against Ukraine would have happened regardless because of the climate impact to agriculture. Look what is happening right now. Heat waves in the US, heat waves in Europe, 52 degrees Celsius in China. So we need to create a system that puts the farmers in the center. What we need now is to incentivize farmers. We need a global equivalent of the Inflation Reduction Act for the farmers to reduce emissions of farming and also to create much more resilient farming and with less global flows to have much more local food production to produce more closer to where the food is consumed as well. And this is something we should have addressed a long time ago. Now it's more about reacting. Now it's about funding the World Food Programme and also supporting the United Nations in the very important work that they are doing in trying to broker this deal.
Yeah, there does need to be much more diversification when it comes to the world food sources. You think about how much East Africa alone is reliant on Ukraine. I mean, we talk about who's affected by this. Obviously, it will lead to much more food insecurity around the world, obviously food prices rising and that sort of thing. But you have to also think about what this means for Ukrainian farmers as well. Just walk us through that perspective too.
Well, it's devastating, and we have Yara colleagues on the ground in Ukraine, and I'm struggling to find the right words to describe how proud I am of the work that they do every day, working with the farmers to optimize the production based on the input that they have available and under very, very challenging and dangerous circumstances to try to produce as much as possible. We had the burst of the dam just a few weeks ago that destroyed a lot of arable land, and that is also impacting water availability for the production of food. So yeah, the circumstances for the Ukrainian farmers, it was hard to make it worse than it was. And now on top of it, they don't even know if they're going to be able to export the food that they produce. And then, as you say, also in Africa now, look at East Africa or Africa in total, importing about $40 billion worth of food every year, when Africa could be a food exporter to the rest of the world. It could be the breadbasket of the world. So also important that we keep the African farmers in mind, and also create a system to incentivize and to support more growth of food in Africa as well as other parts of the world.
Yeah, that last point is crucial. Sven, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.